In at number 10, we have got the uterranis, and although this creature is just viewed as a creature which is going to buff all of your creatures in a boss fight, don't know why I said creature that many times in a sentence, but either way, this thing is obviously mainly used to buff creatures in a boss fight with its courage roar, but it also just worked as a pretty decent carnivorous mount, and you can actually do bosses with this dinosaur, which most people probably wouldn't consider doing, and maybe it's not the best option. If you go to something like a Rex, you probably have a higher success rate, but you could definitely do it with something like the UT, and you can have a pretty decent success rate nonetheless. And actually using a UT in some cases can be a lot better than the Rex, because they're much more mobile creatures and you may just like them more, and if you breed them and you get some really good ones, they can be really good for that use. They're just general great meat harvesters and hide harvesters as well, because they kill loads of creatures. And obviously you can use their fear roar as well, not really in boss scenarios, but you can kind of use them as a sort of turret thing, that like if someone's coming to raid your base on a pteranodon, you can always just fear roar those things away is what I meant to say, and then from that you can essentially disable them from raiding you, which is actually a pretty decent strat if you've never tried it. Next up, we have got the Baselo, and this creature can actually make oil in its inventory, which is actually a pretty useful thing. And you know, you might just use this thing as a caving creature, but it is also a pretty good creature for exploring just the general ocean biome, which is actually quite an integral part of the game in some ways, as obviously it's ocean caving, but also for a lot of resources you need to explore, you know, get loads of oil and silica pearls and black pearls and all of that. And I know they do have a depth limit, but still that doesn't really hinder them, and again they are immune to jellyfish and electric eels. I say it a lot on the channel, and that is something huge about these creatures. And they also do have an X variant, so there's an even better version of these creatures out there, and they can also make little rainbows as well when they jump out of the water, which is actually quite cute. I know it doesn't really affect their abilities and their uses, but you know, just a nice cool feature which might brighten up your day. Next up, we have got the Theory, and this creature has to be here as it is just so good at gathering all kinds of resources, which obviously makes it a very versatile creature in all kinds of anything really, and especially that fiber gathering, as fiber is one of the most essential resources in the game, and you'll pretty much struggle to find a better creature than a Theory which can actually gather fiber. And obviously you can use a sickle, or you can use a moss chop, so that's another great creature for you to use for this. The Theory just does it better, and it's pretty easy and accessible to tame. You just have to be level 69.
Nice.
That joke gets me every single time, but you know, it's actually pretty hard to find a really decent fiber gatherer, and this is a really decent fiber gatherer, but obviously it can gather all kinds of berries, wood, thatch, and all of that. And it's also pretty decent for the dragon boss fight because it's a herbivore, so it doesn't get affected by the dragon's fire attack, which is particularly lethal to carnivores and not very friendly to them whatsoever. So you know, that's where the benefit of this comes in. But sadly, you can't just use meat to heal them. You have to use something like sweet vegetable cake, and that is frankly quite expensive, so that is a downside. But apart from that, they really are great creatures. In at number 7, we have got the Barionics, and this creature is just so good at caving, but it is also great at several other things as well. But the caving just make it inherently versatile in itself, because being able to do caves and all kinds of caves and travel around many situations in caves is inherently versatile, and obviously it's a really great underwater mount as well, so that is again another really great use for this creature. And they do obviously have that spin attack, so they can stun creatures up to the size of a megalodon, which does play huge benefit in their ability. And if you do have one of those things, I definitely recommend you getting one of these things into the water, not just using it predominantly as a land creature, although you probably will predominantly use it as a land creature. Get it in the water and you get its feet wet and actually use it in the water, and you'll probably find that you really like this creature in that environment as well. Yeah, maybe it doesn't have the greatest amount of speed like some of the newer creatures out there, but considering it spawns on the islands, you really can't go wrong with this creature. So that is why I put the Barry in at the number 7 spot, and you can see there that Megalodon is just completely frozen. So if you're in a pinch and need to get out of a sticky situation, you can always do it with the Barry. Next up, we have got the Rhino Ganatha. Personally, I don't really like this creature because I find it's a little bit too overpowering in what it can do, but I know loads of you out there really like this creature, and I'm not going to diss it for its versatility, even though it's not a favourite of mine. So I am going to put it on this list, although you might not quite agree with my next choice, which is my preferred option, and I will say it, albeit this is the kind of better creature in my opinion. It's just I don't enjoy using it, which is why I put it lower on the list. But still, this creature is full of very exciting opportunities. This thing can pick up creatures up to the size of a Rex, and pick up Paracers, pick up all kinds of really big creatures, which is inherently a really great use in its own thing. Cryos do exist though, not on ASA at the moment, so it's the only way of really getting those big creatures around, but on normal Ark, you can make do with cryos, and you'll definitely have loads of them by the time you get the saddle for this thing, or even attempt to tame one, because it is quite a difficult, lengthy process. Pretty much just a rip-off of the Reaper tame, but you know, it is the same game publishers and the same game makers, so you can't really call it a rip-off, let's say, because I just said that earlier. You kind of maybe call it a rehashing. It's a little bit different, of course, because the way you get 100% effectiveness is with all of those resources which are just on the screen there, and if you feel like it's too unnecessary to read all of those, then it's probably too unnecessary to get all of those to actually get 100% effectiveness. And you're not bringing this thing to a boss fight, don't really think that is very useful or worth your time. I just recommend saving the highest level when you can, and you don't need that 100% effectiveness, it's fine, you can just wait it out and you'll be good. But if you really are a perfectionist, obviously I'm not going to stop you from doing that. Also, these creatures are really great at raiding bases, like they deal a heck of a lot of damage, they're really quick flyers, they have a lot of carry weight, so you can transport a lot of metal around with them, and they are just inherently really big, beefy creatures, but not as big as maybe you would expect. Obviously these things don't have any platform saddle like the Quetzal, so that still does have a slight gain over this thing, but it is a really versatile creature, although personally I don't really like it and kind of what it is, the creature. I think it's too overpowering. I'll still admit it's a very versatile creature. Now in number 5 we have got the Argie, and this creature just had to be here for me above the Rhino Ganatha because I think it's a superior creature. It fits into the game more, and I really like its regen ability, the fact that its saddle acts as portable smithy, and it really seems to fit into the game, and it's a pretty easy tame as well. Not saying that the Rhino Ganatha tame being really difficult like devalues it as a creature. No, it's a much higher level, so you would expect a harder tame method, but still I think again that does kind of make the Argie a lot more accessible. Albeit yes, the Argie can't pick up anything like Rexes and all of that. I think that is personally a little bit stupid. I should really stop ranting on about the Rhino Ganatha, because I know those of you out there really like it, so I'm going to stop that. I'm just going to talk about the Argie, because I don't really think I should be dissing your opinions, although I should express mine. I think I've done it enough, haven't I? Either way, the Argie can pick up a wealth of creatures. Obviously it does have that regen buff when it kills a dead thing. Well, it's alive and then it kills it, and then it's dead, and then it eats the dead thing, and then it gets the regen buff. And then it has obviously a portable smithy as its saddle, which is useful because this thing's really, it's got really great weight stats, so you can get around really quickly and easily just in the general area, and then from that you can take loads of metal to and fro wherever you're going, and yeah, that does play a huge benefit in your advantage. So the Argie in at number 5. Next up we have got the Shadowmane, and this is just one of those creatures where it's so densely packed with abilities it kind of has to make the list, or this list just really isn't right. The Shadowmane has the hydration buff. The Shadowmane can really jump to insane heights that no flyer is safe, and also on top of that it does have the pack buff and go invisible, and it's a really great swimmer. It's just really mobile. Again, can jump extremely high into the air. It can also charge up its damage as well, doing even more. It's just such a great boss creature, and just great for general travel, mobility, general combat, PvP scenarios, PvE scenarios, you name it, this thing is really good for it. The only real downside is the lack of armor from a saddle, but they have natural armor, so I guess that kind of accounts for it. It's not quite as bad as a Wyvern where they just have absolutely nothing at all. And as you can see there, it's so good underwater, and actually quite a lot of people demote it for that and they just use it for combat, but it's a pretty good underwater caving creature too. and somewhat of a Barionics replacement, although I tend to prefer the Barionics just a little bit for those scenarios. At number 3, we have got the Desmodus Draculi, and this thing is just, it's one of those creatures where it's, maybe it doesn't have the most amount of resources, not resources, abilities, let's say. Obviously it does have the gliding ability and it can farm blood bags, but it has really unique abilities that makes it so versatile, and obviously that Sanguine Elixir allows for creatures to be tamed so easily, as 30% of it is done right there with just a click of a button, and the blood bag farming is invaluable really, because you know, the blood bags were just such a pain to get before this creature came out. Obviously it's tamed with blood bag, so you still need to do that quite lengthy process to get your first one, but just get a really low level one for your first one, get the lowest you can, and then use that to farm loads of blood bags, and then get the highest level that you can. That's my recommended strat anyway. For the Desmodus, these things can also go invisible at night time as well, but stupidly I was in the Wastelands biome and it never goes nighttime there, and you can't really change that, so that's good for me choosing the perfect biome for this creature. In number 2, we've got the Bloodstalker, and this creature, I feel like people diss it for what I really use it for, and maybe some people will think, well, the Shadowman and Desmodus are more versatile, this is just a travel mount, you know, and you can't really use it for bosses and all of that, and albeit yes you can't, but it is a really exceptional underwater mount, which is why I put it here, and it's actually my favourite underwater mount with no questions whatsoever. Sorry about the yawning there, it's quite late in the evening as I'm recording this, but yeah, these things are my absolute favourite underwater creatures, no questions asked. They're so quick, they're so easy to take in the water, they can skim over the top of the water, which the Shadowman can't do. I know the Maywing can, but the Maywing's not on this list because it's only really great for travelling, and yes, that thing with its breeding abilities essentially acting as a portable feeding trough, and it can carry babies around the place. Yeah, it's useful for that and versatile for that, but personally I think all the creatures on this list do excel a little bit further than that. That's just kind of maybe genuinely what you would expect, just 2 abilities at a minimum. But yeah, this creature, you can gather loads of hexagons with it on Gen 1. I know that point's probably going to come back to bite me actually with the Maywing when you look at some of these other creatures on the list, but I just don't really think the Maywings should be on the list, but I guess it got an honourable mention spot here, you could say. But either way, these things are capable of getting loads of hexagons on Gen 1. They're really fast travelling creatures, of course. They're really great underwater, really quick. Obviously you take them with blood bags, so easy to get with the Desmodus, you might as well just do that and then tame yourself a really high level Bloodstalker, because it will be saving you the most time, unless you're just using creatures on Gen 1 or Gen 2, whatever map you're taming this thing on, if you want to go the more authentic route. And finally, in at number 1, we have got the Dionicus, and this creature can deal bleed damage to bosses, which inherently makes it really versatile for every boss, apart from the bosses on Extinction, of course, because of that bleed ability. It's just so useful for getting all of that done, and its abilities are quite versatile as well. It's a really great travel mount. This thing does take no full damage whatsoever, which is a pretty rare occurrence on any kind of dinosaur, so it's nice to see. And the fact that it can latch onto creatures and just rip them to shreds with that bleed ability truly is a sight to be seen, and again, to my knowledge, no other creature can do this, and no one has seemed to have questioned me on it over the however long I've been doing top 10s, months on months now. It's coming up to maybe a year at this point. I don't know. No one has questioned me on this, so I'm pretty sure, I'm perfectly confident that it's true. Let's say 99%. These things also do have a pack buff as well, which again is going to boost them in those boss scenarios, and they have a heck of a lot of mobility on top of just them not being able to take full damage, because, you know, would you rather have the small Titanosaur that can get around everywhere, or the big Titanosaur that just can't take full damage? You're probably going to go for the smaller agile one, because I don't know why I use a Titanosaur there, but either way, yeah, this thing could parkour up walls. You know, that's actually quite useful. Maybe not as elegant as a solution as the Thyla, because those things can just kind of walk up them, run up them as you wish, but it does the same thing. It just in some ways is a little bit more janky, but you get used to it, and actually after a while it kind of ends up being a little bit better. In at number 10 we have got the Rex, and I guess I should probably somewhat explain what I mean by natural creatures. And what I mean by natural is they fit into the environment very well, and they are very well suited to the art game as well. They're not overly OP and just mess with all of the like game balance, and the Rex is kind of a perfect base level example for that. Everyone kind of knows what the Rex is, so it's obviously really going to fit into a dinosaur game, and it's not like Rhino Ganatha level OP, so it's nothing game breaking, which, you know, I always like, and I know loads of people out there like the Rhino Ganatha. I tend to rant on about it a lot that it's way too OP, but that is just because I come from a more primitive day of Ark, and I kind of prefer the game being somewhat a little bit challenging when you don't really get that too much anymore. But either way, the Rex is going to be your go-to boss creature for pretty much any map really that isn't Extinction. It can do it all, and you have the X Rexes on Gen 1 as well, so you can have an even better Rex. And if you're on ASA, they're an absolute cheat to tame, so I would recommend you get one. They're so easy with that baby mechanic. You just have to kill the parent, or if the parent's already been killed, you simply just press E on a baby Rex, and then boom, you have yourself a Rex. It's that simple. It's kind of actually a little bit sad how easy the game has become, but still, you know, a very nice creature that fits into a general dinosaur game theme, as it kind of is the world's most popular dinosaur. Next up, we've got the Crystal Wyvern, and this kind of just has to be here as it's on Crystal Isles and it's a Crystal Wyvern. Can you make the connection there? You probably can, can't you? It's literally like the theme of the map, the standout creature, if you will, and although it's a modded version of a previously very well-known creature, I personally think it adds a really nice new spin, and it makes sense, and it works for this creature, and I really like it for that. And I really do appreciate this creature, what it stands for, how you tame it, what it does. Especially with Blood Crystal Wyverns, really useful. They have the hydration buff for some reason as well. Don't really know why. The water one, I'm pretty sure the Blood Crystal Wyvern doesn't, but you know, they're a fly, they can't even go into water. But you know, it's the thought that counts, right? You can always dip your wings in there to get that hydration buff, or just dip your toes in if you're on the ground. And there's so many things that you can do with Crystal Wyverns that you couldn't do with normal Wyverns, because they're so much more accessible to the general Ark players due to that much easier taming method. And they just kind of bring a new essence of life to this creature, which we've like kind of known is pretty much been the same, but when these things came out, it was a really new spin on these creatures, which we probably didn't even think about when thinking about, oh, what's going to be next for the Wyvern. We probably didn't even think what was next for the Wyvern, and that's what makes this creature so special. Next up, we've got the Dionicus, and this is a perfectly fit creature for those chalk hills. I was going to say crystal hills for a second. It's like chalk hills biome or something like that. Chalk cliffs biome, I'm pretty sure is what it's called actually. But yeah, this creature really fits into that map, and also it's a really great creature on top of that as well, which is why I've put it a little bit higher than something like the Crystal Wyvern, because I do prefer this creature a little bit, although maybe the theme isn't quite there as much, as it doesn't lean into it quite as much, as there's no like bits of chalk rock sticking out of this thing. I still really think it fits very nicely with the wrap, what am I talking about anymore? I'm rushing things at this point. Either way, it's pretty much like a really great substitute to the Raptor, and you can't really even compare it to that creature because it is so much better. It has the pack buff, it doesn't take full damage. This thing can like parkour across the map, and it does bleed damage to bosses, and it just does a heck of a lot of damage. It has a lot of health, a lot of mobility, a lot of weight, and a lot of stamina. So maybe not the most amount of weights that you would carry loads of metal around with, but enough that you can very easily get by. It's not like a Pteranodon's weight, which is kind of outrageously low, but it kind of is deliberately so, because that would be a little bit too OP, and then the Argie just wouldn't be a warranted creature. So that's how the game balances itself, and we seem to be lacking that again in New Ark. But this creature is still very balanced. It doesn't break the boundaries in really OP creatures. It does make a few bosses a little bit of a cheese, but I don't feel like it's too easy. In at number 7, we've got the Astroetus, and this creature just fits so well with its space biome, I kind of have to put it here. And it was such a new, inventive, creative thing. I guess I'll put the Astrodelphus here as well, because they are pretty similar, but the Astroetus just came first, and it's a really big space whale. It just seems a lot cooler to me. Kind of put the Void Worm here as well. That's a nice, another spin on the Wyvern, because I was talking about the Crystal Wyvern earlier, and it really fits with the space theme and with the kind of theme of Gen 1. Yes, it kind of gets into more OP territory as you get into Gen 1 and Gen 2. especially with like the really new creatures that came out now. But like Gen 2's a 2021 thing, so it's getting on like, it'll be 3 years old in the summer, which kind of seems a little bit insane. It might have been 2022. I'm trying to work out my dates. Can you comment that down below, because I'm really not sure anymore. Next up, we got the Bloodstalker, and doesn't this just fit right in with the bog biome on Gen 1? Like, I wouldn't think of any other creature really being in this map. And of course you've got all your Spinos and your Barionics and your Sarcos and your Capros and your dreaded insects. I can't remember what they're called now, something, but insect swarms is pretty what they're called, aren't they? Yeah, you got those absolutely horrible things. But no, the Bloodstalker really does fit, again, like all those other creatures, but they were kind of already there apart from the insect swarms. But that's not going to get a mention really on this list for being a really good natural tame, because they are some of the most annoying things just in Ark. It's one of the reasons why I hate the bog biome, and you should probably just go live in the ocean biome instead. Even though it says hard, you can go on the island and it's easy living. With the Bloodstalker, you kind of turn into bog Spider-Man, I guess. Really terrible joke. Was that joke good? Was it bad? Comment that down below as well. Also, this thing is just such a great underwater tame. For me, it's my favourite underwater creature. Makes sense. Spawns in the bog biome. There's a lot of bog in the bog biome, which means there's some water in the bog biome. So it means it must be a good swimmer, right? And it is. And it's really good at just generally travelling around as well, which really does help this creature out. I love the Bloodstalker. In at number 5, we have got the Rock Drake, and doesn't this really just sit home in Operation? And I would kind of say Crystal Isles as well. Kind of sad that they removed it when it got an official release, but I guess it might have been a little bit on the OP side to have Rock Drakes on some other maps as well. It means more people can get their hands on them, but I kind of did prefer it that way as well. But you know, they really do fit to their original map, Operation, and they're pretty much like the only real good method of travel on that map. Just no questions asked whatsoever. They are the creature you want, and there's no real replacement to on Operation, which really does solidify their place in being completely built into that map very well. And obviously they've got a really cool model design. Their abilities are cool and inventive. Pretty sure it was the first like Ark glider that you'd ride on. I know the Archaeopteryx came before, but that doesn't really count because yeah, it just doesn't count. So I'm going to stop talking about that. But I'm pretty sure it kind of started the trend of gliders, and it really does just work with Operation. If you've ever used a Rock Drake on Operation, you know how fun these things are to use and how good these things are to use. And also, they have a lot of damage as well. Pretty good for bosses, and you can cheese Rockwell with this and some Lazarus Chowder if you ever want to do that, because that's actually kind of fun and nice and a little bit hilarious as well. So if you've never done that before, I would definitely recommend you go out there and do this at some point, because you know there are just so many things you do with the Rock Drake, and cheesing Rockwell should be one on your go-to tick-off list. Next up, we've got the Argie, and I kind of just have to put this thing here as it just fits into the island so well, and I could not imagine the island without the Argie. And I think of this creature with great nostalgia. Obviously, when I look at that old Argie model, the new one is far better. I do not want the old one back, but you know, there's always something about the old Argie model which just, it really makes me realise how much I love this creature and just how well fitted it is to this map and kind of any mountain biome you could say as well. Because can you imagine just a mountain in Ark and then without Argies? No, because you're constantly on the lookout for Argies, just like, I want to avoid the Argies, or I'm going to go tame an Argie. It's just such a crucial step of someone's playthrough on the island, and I'm kind of valuing the island over all other maps because it's the map that people start on, and it's the map that every single Ark player has access to, and every single Ark player does have access to an Argie. So really, at some point, if you have never done it before, get yourself an Argie. They are packed full of cool abilities, like their regen. If they kill something and they eat it, they also have a smithy for their saddle, so you can really just like repair anything that you'll need in terms of flak related stuff or metal gear if you're out on a metal run, or doing any caving, because you might want to repair your armor, because arthropluras are really annoying and they'll break your armor, and this will help out so much. So really do tame yourself an Argie. And it also, if you want metal and you like metal, the Argie is going to be perfect for you. It's got weight reduction on things like metal, crystal and obsidian. In at number 3 we have got the Desmodus, and it really does just fit the Nordic theme of Fjorda, doesn't it? And also it's really a great creature, and it's borderline too OP, but it works. It can't pick up Rexes or anything stupid like that, like the Rhino Ganatha. It can farm blood bags and make Sanguine Elixir, and it's like when you got the Valentine's Day event anyway, you kind of had something similar to that, but now you just have it all the time. And I actually really do like it, and it is so good for official players, because that can be a little bit grueling sometimes to tame something, and you know, it kind of takes the edge off of it. For single player it doesn't really matter as much, but you know, it makes it a little bit more fun and more appealing. These things also do have night vision, but because I was in the wasteland biome extinction, nighttime never happens, so I could not show you them going invisible nighttime. I'm pretty sure they have like a night vision thingy as well. They might not, they might. I might have said that wrong, but either way they can go invisible in the nighttime, and I didn't show it because there's no nighttime here. I should have probably just gone to one of the domes really. At number 2 we have got the Shadowmane, and this creature, man, it just, when I think of Gen 2 I think of the Shadowmane. It's so rooted in its map, it's kind of insane. And when thinking of Rockwell's Garden, you think of this creature, and I guess I'll chuck the Noglin in here as well, and maybe even the Bulldog and other creatures like that, because they are so fitted to like the maps like Arboration and Gen 2. You really just can't imagine the maps without them, and the Noglin is a better example than the Bulldog, because the Bulldog's an Arboration, and you can't think of Rockwell's Innards without the Noglin. It's just a mind-controlling like little critter, you could say, and it fits perfectly. And so does the Shadowmane for Rockwell's Garden. You could consider Maywing a little bit as well, although I think it doesn't quite fit in as well as these creatures, because I don't really know. I don't really have a valid answer to back that up, but I really think these do. And Shadowmane and Noglin are just packed full of really cool, fun abilities. And Shadowmane is a really great boss creature, so if you're thinking of doing Rockwell on that map, probably do it with Shadowmanes, because it will feel authentic enough and it will be fun. And in at number 1 we have got the Reaper, and the Reaper kind of just had to be here, didn't it? When you think of the Reaper, you really do think of Arboration. It's so perfectly suited to its map. It's actually a little bit crazy to think about, at least for me, because it's so rooted in its map and it fits perfectly. Like, there's no issues whatsoever with this creature fitting into its map. It's just, it is like A+ gold star, 5 out of 5, boom, it has done it. It is the most like natural creature to a map. Coming back to that title, that's kind of the context of meaning that I meant. It's the most kind of natural feeling creature, and also it's a really cool inventive one as well. Its tame method, it gets you impregnated and then you get loads of XP to get 100% effectiveness, of course, not necessary. And then once it's actually been born, then you need the pheromones so it won't kill you, which is that's another kind of cool feature, but you know, it is a little bit frustrating sometimes. But once you have one, you literally feel like a god, and it makes sense. Like, the progression of getting one of these things on Arboration is insane. In Gen 2 it's a little bit overthrown because they're so easy to tame, but I can admit the R Reaper is really a good one as well. You should be getting an R Reaper if you can over the original, but I'd recommend taming it on Arboration first, because on Gen 2 it kind of spoils the fun just a little bit. So thank you to my wonderful patrons Ekaterina Puchkova, Karina Thorne, Dominic Masajewski and Ethan Tapia, who have all supported me through Patreon or through YouTube memberships. If you want to join this list, then go join Patreon or YouTube members, but thanks to all of these guys.